Hi, my name's Dan Nelson, and I'm an artist. I want to talk to you today about how to draw the human figure. Now, I'm sure you know that there are a lot of different ways to draw the human figure. The best way is to know the human figure and to go from there. Let me give you a few principles that you can remember to figure out how to do a believable human being. For centuries, artists have been absolutely intrigued. In fact, if you were to say, what is the sine qua non, without which nothing of the art world, it would be the human figure. We are amazed, we're intrigued, we're moved by the human figure. And most artists are flat, scared, spitless about drawing the human figure. Now, there are a few of you watching that might be way better than I am. If so, please come and give me a few tips, would you? But the rest of you, you can learn a few things probably. Here's what I'm going to do. Begin by giving a rough approximation of a human head. Now, in one of my other free art lessons, I'm going to talk a lot about how to do the human head. We're going to have to save that just for a bit and establish that a head, it's roughly, 2/3 by 1/3. Is that right? Yes, it is. There we go. That's roughly the ratio of a human head. This is probably the most well-known and simplest mnemonic device. That's a device for remembering something that there is. How tall is the human figure? If you haven't heard this already, do you want to take a guess? How many heads tall is a human figure? I remember when I was in about 5th or 6th grade, I already kind of fancied myself as an artist. Happily, my dad was a much better artist than I was, and I remember drawing a figure, and he came to me and said, now, Dan, it was probably Danny, now, Danny, you know that the human figure is 7 heads tall. And I began measuring that out on my paper, and I said, that can't be right. It goes right off the bottom of my page. Well, left to your own devices, or most people left to their own devices, will draw a human figure that's 5.5 heads tall, and it looks like a very short person. So 7 is typical, but listen to this very carefully. If you've heard that 7 is right, then I need to improve on that just a little bit. 8 is ideal. If you draw a human being that is actually 7 heads tall, and here, you see how I'm measuring it here? Just very loosely, carefully. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I draw a figure this tall, it may be realistic, but believe it or not, most people in our culture will still see that as a little bit short and stumpy. Like me, a little bit short and stumpy. And I fancy myself as 8 heads tall. Believe me, it's a fantasy. But I'm going to teach you that a human figure ideally is 8 heads tall. Now, if you're used to looking at fashion, illustration, those are 9, 10, sometimes even ridiculous 11 heads tall, but we're going to leave that for the fashion illustrators. 8's a good average. Now, not only can I tell you that a human figure is ideally 8 heads tall, I'm going to give you a way to remember where those head heights. Do you understand what I'm saying? Head heights. This is a head height, so a human figure is 8 head heights tall. I'm going to give you a way to remember where those parts of the body fall, and each of them begins with the letter N. This is just to help you remember, okay? And I'm going to have to use some terms that refer to the human body. If you have a hard time with that, please go to another quick lesson real soon. Don't watch this one because you may be a little embarrassed. But head number 1, height, falls right at about nipples. Number 2 is navel. Number 3, there are a lot of things you could use to begin with the letter N. Nether regions, that's right, nether regions. And if you don't like that one, you make up your own. And then we skip one. This next N would be right in the middle of the thigh. And please, if one of you can figure out what letter N we could use for the middle of the thigh, please email me. Would you? Go to dannelsonart.com, get on my blog, and say, oh, come on, this is easy. The middle of the thigh is the letter N. Okay, I'm waiting for you. I need your help. And then, of course, this one down here is, as we all know, knees. Begins with the letter N. Sounds like to me, doesn't it to you? And then the middle of the calf is, again, I don't have anything for that. And then way down here at the bottom is nothing. We're at ground zero. We're at ground level. That's nothing. Okay? So if you can just remember not only how tall the human figure is, But the first head starts, ends there, nipples, navel, nether regions, skip one, knees, and nothing. Now, just one other point before I finish this very quick free art lesson. The middle of the human figure is right at our hips, right at our waist. We are amazingly made. Essentially, our legs make up half of our height. And again, if you hadn't heard that, you probably would have made them too short. Well, that'll do for now, I think. I've got a lot more to talk about. Arms, feet, noses. That begins with an N. Great place to stop. Okay. Next time, well, maybe not next time, but noses. You ready? Cool. Hope to see you again.